I still remember that morning like a scar you can't wash away. The sun had barely climbed over the maple trees when I walked into the living room and saw my life, my memories, scattered across the floor like trash. My old photo albums, torn open, pages ripped, photographs crumpled and fading. My trembling hands reached for a picture of my late husband, Robert, holding our newborn daughter, Harper. It was bent at the corner, smudged with coffee, and lying near the garbage bin. My heart stopped. Who did this? I whispered. Nathan's voice came from behind me, sharp and careless. Oh, I tossed those out, Evelyn. They were just old pictures cluttering the cabinet. I'm redecorating the living room. Cluttering. That word stung harder than a slap. Those weren't just photos. They were my heartbeats frozen in time. My youth, my family, the only proof that once upon a time, I was loved and needed. I turned slowly, my old knees shaking. You had no right, I said, my voice breaking. Nathan just shrugged, sipping his coffee. You've been living with us rent-free for 2 years, Evelyn. I thought maybe it's time this house looked a little less like a museum. Before I could speak, Harper came rushing down the stairs, her phone in hand. What's going on? She asked. I pointed to the albums on the floor, my lips trembling too much to speak. Harper's eyes widened. Nathan, did you throw away my mother's albums? Relax, Harp, he said, forcing a smile. They're just old. We can scan the pictures later. I saw the argument begin, sharp words flying like knives, love twisting into something brittle. Harper picked up one torn photograph, her own childhood face smiling back at her, and I could see the hurt forming deep in her eyes. Nathan left the room muttering something about overreactions. And I stood there, quietly gathering the pieces of my life, one photograph at a time. That night, while everyone slept, I sat at the kitchen table with the albums spread before me. Some were missing pages. Some were gone completely. I traced Robert's face with my fingertip, whispering, "They don't understand, do they?" From the hallway, I heard small footsteps. Lily, my 12-year-old granddaughter, peeked in. "Grandma, are you crying?" she asked softly. I smiled through the ache. "Just remembering things, sweetheart." She climbed onto the chair beside me. "Mom and Dad were fighting again," she said quietly. "Because of you." Her words pierced me like a blade. "Because of me?" She nodded. "Dad said you don't respect him. He said you treat the house like it's still yours." I sighed. "This house isn't mine anymore, Lily. But the memories are. And sometimes men forget that what they build their pride on, women built with their hearts." She didn't quite understand, but she listened, her small hand resting on mine. Later that week, Harper tried to make peace. She apologized for Nathan's behavior, but I saw the strain in her eyes. The love between them was thinning like old fabric. Every time Nathan looked at me, I could feel his quiet resentment, as if my presence was a burden he couldn't wait to be rid of. One afternoon, as I was cleaning the porch, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. Nathan's voice was low but sharp. "It's either her or my peace, Harper. I can't live in this house with your mother treating me like an intruder." Harper tried to calm him. "She's my mother, Nathan. She has nowhere else to go." "Then find her somewhere else," he said flatly. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. My daughter's silence on the other side of the door said more than words ever could. That evening, Harper avoided my eyes. She spoke softly at dinner, pretending everything was fine. But I could feel the distance, the growing space between us, the quiet war Nathan had started. Days turned into weeks, and small things began to vanish. My teacup, my embroidered cushion, the vase Robert gave me on our 15th anniversary. When I asked, Nathan would shrug and say, "Maybe it broke. Maybe it's time to let old things go." Every missing item felt like a piece of me being erased. I began keeping what was left in my room, locking the door when I went out. One night, as I sat by the window looking at the moon, I whispered, "Robert, if you can hear me, help me stay strong." Because deep inside, I knew something was coming. Something bigger than broken photographs or cruel words. And I wasn't wrong. A few days later, While tidying the living room, I noticed an unfamiliar envelope on the table, Nathan's name written on it in a woman's handwriting. Harper was at work. Curiosity gnawed at me, but I told myself not to look. Not my business. Still, something in my gut twisted. That envelope would become the key to everything that followed, the secret that would destroy Nathan's lies and tear open the truth behind his perfect smile. But that was the day everything began to unravel. If you've ever watched someone tear apart your memories, you'll understand why I couldn't stay silent anymore. The morning after Nathan threw away my albums, the house felt different. The air itself seemed to carry a quiet accusation, as though the walls remembered what he'd done. Harper acted as if nothing had happened, fluttering around the kitchen, humming to herself, while I sat silently at the table, nursing my tea. She didn't meet my eyes, and that told me everything I needed to know. She knew it was wrong, but she wasn't ready to face it. When Nathan came down the stairs, dressed in his neatly pressed shirt, he gave me that same polite smile. "Good morning, Evelyn," he said, as if we were still pretending to be a happy family. I stared into my cup. "Did you sleep well after throwing 30 years of my life into the trash?" Harper froze at the stove. Nathan's smile faltered. "Evelyn, I told you, I didn't realize they meant that much. You have digital copies of everything, don't you?" "No," I said softly. "I don't. Because love doesn't live on a screen, Nathan. It lives in the pages you tossed away." He sighed, looking at Harper for support, but she avoided his gaze. That tiny moment of silence between them told me more than words ever could. There was a crack in their marriage now, a crack he'd made with his carelessness. Later that day, when they both went out for errands, I decided to take a quiet walk behind the house. I needed to clear my mind. The wind was cool and smelled faintly of rain. Near the trash bins, I saw something, one of my old photo album covers, damp and torn. My heart twisted. I bent down, brushing off the dirt, and there, stuck between the pages, was a small envelope. It was sealed, but my name was written on it, in my late husband George's handwriting. My breath caught. My George, the man who'd held my hand through every hardship, who used to whisper, "No matter what happens, Evie, keep our memories safe." Tears blurred my vision. I took the envelope back inside, clutching it as if it were a heartbeat. That evening, Harper came home first. "Mom, you look pale. Are you okay?" I nodded. "Just a little tired. I found something one of the albums Nathan threw away had this." I showed her the envelope. Her eyes widened. "Dad's handwriting." "Yes." "I haven't opened it yet." Before I could say more, Nathan walked in, holding grocery bags. His face changed when he saw the envelope in my hands. His tone sharpened. "Where did you find that?" "In the trash," I said quietly. His jaw tightened. "You shouldn't go through garbage, Evelyn. It's unsanitary." I felt a surge of anger rise in me. Unsanitary? That envelope was written by the man who built this family. You threw it away without even looking. Harper looked between us, stunned. "Nathan, what's wrong with you?" He tried to mask his irritation, but I saw something flicker in his eyes. Fear. He took a step closer. "Give it to me. Maybe it's nothing important. Let me check first." I pulled it back instinctively. "You will not touch it." For the first time, Harper raised her voice. "Nathan, stop. You're being ridiculous." He backed off with a bitter smile. "Fine. Do whatever you want." He stormed upstairs, leaving a trail of silence behind him. I turned to Harper. "Something's not right, sweetheart. Why would he care so much about an old envelope?" She hesitated. "Mom, he's been stressed lately. Work has been tough, and—"
No, interrupta shuffly.
"This isn't about work. This is about something he doesn't want us to see." I decided to open the letter that night when everyone was asleep. I sat by my window, the moonlight spilling across the paper. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a short note written in George's familiar, gentle hand. "Evelyn, if you're reading this, then I never got the chance to tell you the full truth about the inheritance. The safety deposit box at Ridgefield Bank. Everything in there is yours and Clara's future. Keep it safe. Don't trust anyone who tries to get close because of it. My heart pounded. The inheritance? I had forgotten about it, some savings George set aside years before he died. I thought it had long been handled. But why would Nathan react like that? Unless he already knew. The next morning, I went to the bank quietly. Harper was at work, and Nathan was gone early, saying he had meetings. When I reached Ridgefield Bank, the clerk looked at me sympathetically. Mrs. Hartman Ross, I'm so sorry, but your son-in-law was here 2 weeks ago. He said you authorized him to access the box. It's been emptied. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. What? Yes, ma'am. He had all the documents and signatures. My voice shook. That's impossible. I never signed anything. The clerk frowned. He said you weren't well, that you gave consent through your daughter. My chest burned. I thanked the clerk and left, clutching my purse like it was the only thing holding me upright. The cold air outside cut through me, but it was nothing compared to the cold inside my heart. When I got home, Nathan's car was in the driveway. I walked inside quietly. He was in the living room, typing something on his laptop. He looked up, startled, when he saw me. Back already? He said, forcing a smile. I stared at him. You went to Ridgefield Bank. He froze. His hands stilled on the keyboard. What are you talking about? You emptied the deposit box George left for me. Don't lie. For a split second, guilt flashed across his face. Then it hardened. You're confused, Evelyn. You're old. You probably forgot what you signed. The words hit me like slaps. I may be old, Nathan, but I am not senile, I said through tears. You stole what my husband left for this family. He stood up, towering over me. Watch what you say. You have no proof. I looked at him, calm but trembling. Oh, I'll find proof. And when I do, Harper will see who you really are.
He scoffed.
You think she'll believe you over me? I've given her everything. But even as he said it, there was doubt in his voice. That night, I told Harper what I discovered. She refused to believe it at first, her eyes filling with disbelief and tears. Mom, Nathan wouldn't, he couldn't. Then why did he panic when I found George's letter? I asked gently. Why did he have access to the box? She didn't answer. By midnight, the house was silent again, but my heart wasn't. I could hear George's voice in my mind. Keep our memories safe. Now I understood. It wasn't just the photo albums Nathan had destroyed. It was trust, history, love, the things that hold a family together. As I sat by my window again, I heard something outside. A car door. Footsteps. I peeked through the curtain. Nathan was walking toward the shed behind the house, holding a flashlight. What was he hiding there? I slipped on my coat and quietly followed him into the cold night. He opened the shed door and stepped inside. The faint light revealed boxes, some old, some new. He knelt down, moving something under a tarp. I squinted through the small window. And then I saw it. One of my missing photo albums, half burned, lying beside a stack of papers with my name forged on them. My breath caught in my throat. The truth was finally there, staring me in the face. And as I stepped back into the shadows, one thought echoed in my heart. Tomorrow, everything changes. The next morning, I sat at the breakfast table pretending to read the paper, but my hands shook so badly, the words blurred together. I hadn't slept at all. The image of that half-burned album and those forged papers haunted me like ghosts in the dark. Nathan came down the stairs humming softly, as if nothing was wrong. "Morning, Evelyn," he said casually, pouring himself coffee. I didn't respond. He knew I'd seen something last night. His eyes flickered toward me, testing my silence. When Harper joined us, he leaned in and kissed her forehead, pretending to be the perfect husband. "I'm heading to work early today," he said. "Work?" asked quietly, looking up. "Or Ridgefield Bank again?" The air froze. Harper frowned. "Mom, what's going on?" Nathan forced a laugh. "Your mother's been having strange dreams, that's all." I looked at Harper, my voice trembling. "He's lying. I saw the papers last night, the ones he forged with my signature." Harper stared at me like I'd spoken another language.
"What?" What are you talking about?
Nathan sighed and put his cup down. Evelyn, enough. You're upsetting her. Upsetting her? I snapped. You stole from her family. You burned the memories of her father. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Careful, old woman. Something inside me cracked at those words. Harper gasped. Nathan, but he didn't back down. You don't know what you're saying, Evelyn. You're confused. You're making things up to turn Harper against me. Tears burned in my eyes. You'll regret this one day. He smirked. I already do. And then he left, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. Harper collapsed onto a chair, burying her face in her hands. Mom, tell me this isn't true. It's true, I whispered. Go to the shed. See for yourself. She hesitated, then ran outside. I followed her. When she pushed open the shed door, the smell of burnt paper hit us. The half-burned album lay in the corner, and on the workbench, scattered across the surface, were financial documents, legal forms, all bearing my name and Nathan's handwriting. Harper covered her mouth in shock. Oh my God. I watched her crumble to her knees, holding the torn papers. He forged everything, Harper. He didn't just throw away my memories, he stole your father's legacy. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her cheeks. How could I have been so blind? I knelt beside her, pulling her into my arms. Love makes us blind, sweetheart, but truth always finds a way to shine through. That night, Harper didn't speak to Nathan. When he came home, she locked herself in the bedroom. I sat in the living room, watching the clock tick. Hours later, I heard raised voices, then silence, then the sound of a door slamming. In the morning, she came downstairs with red eyes. He left, she said quietly. He said he needs space. He also said he knows you'll ruin him. I nodded. Good. Let him be afraid. But my relief was short-lived. 2 days later, I received a letter from the county office. It was a notice. Nathan had filed a legal motion claiming I had transferred ownership of my late husband's remaining estate assets to him voluntarily. My hands shook as I held the papers. He was trying to destroy me legally now. Harper sat across from me, reading the document with trembling fingers. He's gone mad, Mom. Completely mad. I could barely breathe. He forged my name again. He's not just greedy, Harper. He's dangerous. That evening, Mrs. Pauline Grant, my dear old neighbor, stopped by after hearing the shouting earlier in the week. Evelyn, darling, I've seen that man sneaking around your backyard at night. Thought you should know. My heart sank. When? 2 nights ago. He was carrying something looked like a box. Went into the shed. After she left, I turned to Harper. He must have hidden more evidence there. We waited until midnight again. The air outside was thick with mist. I held a flashlight while Harper followed behind me, her face pale but determined. When we opened the shed this time, the box was gone. Only ashes remained on the floor. Harper whispered, "He's destroyed everything." "No," I said quietly. "Not everything." Because lying half-buried under the ashes was a single photograph, George and I, on our wedding day. On the back, written in my husband's familiar handwriting, were 3 words, "Truth finds light." I felt my knees weaken. Harper helped me up, tears in her eyes. "Mom, what do? We fight back." The next day, we went to Mr. Samuel Pierce, our family lawyer. He studied the documents Nathan had filed, his brows knitting. These signatures are sloppy. Definitely forged. But proving it in court will be hard. We'll need evidence, something that ties him directly to these acts. Harper frowned. He probably used my laptop to print and scan everything. He's been using it lately. Samuel nodded. Then we start there. That night, Harper accessed her laptop files. Deep in her folders, she found a hidden directory, password protected. She entered the password Nathan always used for his accounts, Victory87. It opened. Inside were dozens of PDF files, copies of every forged document, including bank transfers, notarized forms, and even scanned images of my signature. But there was something else, an email draft Nathan had written but never sent. It was addressed to someone named Dr. Ellis. The subject line read, "About the inheritance, her daughter has no clue." Harper stared at it, horrified. He was working with someone else. Dr. Ellis? I repeated softly. I don't know that name. Harper clicked the message open. It was short but damning. Funds are secured. Once I finalize the transfer, we'll discuss your percentage. The old woman believes it's gone. Harper is emotional, easy to manipulate. Tears filled Harper's eyes. He used me. He used us. I took her hand. We'll use his own words to expose him. But as we were printing the files, headlights flashed outside. A car pulled into the driveway. Nathan's car. Harper panicked. He can't see these. He'll destroy everything again. We hurried to unplug the printer, but before we could hide the papers, the front door opened. Nathan stepped in, his face shadowed by the porch light. He looked around slowly. Late night. Harper's voice trembled. You should leave, Nathan. He smirked. You've been talking to your mother too much. She's not lying, she shot back. We know everything. The forged documents, the emails, the bank theft, everything. Nathan's face hardened. You think anyone will believe you? You're emotional. You've been under stress. He took a step forward, but I stood between them. Don't you dare take another step toward my daughter. His eyes flicked to the papers on the table, and he realized what we had. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Give me those files, Evelyn.
Now. No.
Do you have any idea what you're doing? Yes, I said. I'm protecting my family, something you never understood. He lunged toward the table, but Harper grabbed the papers and ran upstairs. I blocked his path, trembling but firm. You've done enough damage, Nathan. Leave before I call the police. He glared at me, chest heaving. You'll regret this, Evelyn. Both of you will. Then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Harper came down slowly, shaking. Mom, he's losing control. I nodded, tears falling. So are we. But we have to stay strong. That night, I couldn't sleep again. And then, just before dawn, I heard the faint crackle of fire. I looked outside. Flames were licking at the edges of the shed. The fire spread fast, orange and furious. I screamed for Harper, rushing outside barefoot. The smoke stung my eyes as I tried to douse the flames with a hose. But it was too late. The shed, everything inside, was gone. When the fire department arrived, they said it was likely arson. Harper and I looked at each other, knowing exactly who had done it. But there, in the smoldering ashes, something glinted faintly, a corner of burned paper, half intact. I picked it up carefully. It was part of a bank form, with Nathan's name printed beside mine. It wasn't much, but it was enough. As the sun rose over the charred remains, I whispered to myself, George, I promise, he won't get away with this. But inside, I felt something breaking, a quiet, deep grief. Because no matter what came next, the family I once knew was already gone. And in that still morning air, I realized the next step wasn't just about justice. It was about survival. Eleanor's hands trembled as she folded the letter she had found in Nathan's drawer, the one that finally told her everything. It wasn't just about the photo albums anymore. It was about who Nathan really was beneath that polite smile. For years, she had doubted her instincts, convincing herself that her daughter's happiness mattered more than her suspicions. But that morning, when she saw Grace crying quietly on the porch steps, her heart knew the truth was finally catching up. I walked out slowly, the cold morning air brushing against my face. Grace, I said softly, whatever it is, you don't have to hide it from me anymore. She turned her head, eyes swollen, voice breaking. Mom, he said those albums were clutter, that my childhood doesn't matter. And now he wants me to sell this house too. For a moment, everything inside me went still. The home my husband built with his hands, where Grace took her first steps, where Lily learned to walk. Nathan wanted to erase it, just like he erased my memories. He said we should start fresh, Grace whispered, that we don't need to live surrounded by old things. Old things. That's what he called them. But they weren't just things, they were pieces of us. I took Grace's hand, squeezing it firmly. You can start fresh without burning your past, my dear. Anyone who doesn't understand that doesn't love you. They just want to control you. For the first time, Grace didn't defend him. She just sat quietly, tears falling down her face. That night, after everyone went to bed, I sat in my rocking chair and opened the old wooden chest in my room. Inside were the few photos Nathan hadn't found. I had hidden them away months ago, something inside me warning that one day I might need them. They were slightly bent, but still carried life. My husband's smile, Grace's childhood laughter, the day she first met Nathan. I looked at that picture of him standing beside her, arm around her waist, and wondered how love could turn so cold. The next morning, I called Nathan. We need to talk, I told him. Come to the garden after breakfast. He came out, confident as ever, holding his phone in one hand. What's this about, Eleanor? I took a deep breath. It's about the truth, Nathan. About why you really threw those albums away. He smirked, because they were collecting dust. I looked him straight in the eyes.
No.
Because they reminded Grace of the woman she used to be, before you made her doubt herself. For the first time, his smile faltered. You're overreacting. I found the letters, I said quietly. From that woman in Chicago, the one you promised you'd never speak to again. The color drained from his face. You went through my things? I didn't have to. Life has a way of showing truth to those who've been lied to long enough. He took a step toward me, voice rising. This is between Grace and me. I shook my head. It was until you disrespected not just her, but our memories, our family, our history. Grace walked out just then, pale and trembling, holding the letter I'd placed on the kitchen table for her to find. Nathan, she said, voice cracking. How could you? Nathan froze. Grace, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, she cut him off. You didn't just throw away albums. You threw away everything that built me, my father, my childhood, my roots. He looked at her, then at me, realizing the fight was over. You two are the same, he said bitterly, clinging to the past. And you, I said softly, are too afraid of it. He stormed off toward the car, slamming the door so hard the sound echoed through the yard. Grace stood there, tears streaming down her cheeks, watching the man she thought she knew drive away. Lily came running out, confused, holding her little teddy bear. Mommy, why is Daddy leaving? Grace bent down and hugged her tight, whispering something I couldn't hear. But I saw the strength in her arms, the kind of strength that only comes when a woman chooses herself over her pain. That evening, we sat together on the porch, watching the sun dip low behind the oak trees. You knew, didn't you? Grace said quietly. I nodded. I felt it. A woman always knows when love turns into something else. She looked at me with so much sorrow that my heart ached. What do I do now, Mom? Now, I said gently, you rebuild. You start with what's real, your daughter, your memories, your truth. For the first time in weeks, she smiled faintly. And you'll help me? I reached out, touching her hand. Always. The house was quiet that night. Nathan didn't come back. The silence felt both strange and peaceful, like the calm that follows a storm but hints at another one coming. Because deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end. Nathan wasn't the kind of man to walk away easily. And as I blew out the last candle before bed, I had a feeling he wasn't done trying to destroy what he couldn't control. I whispered to the dark, if he comes back to take what's left, he'll finally learn. This family doesn't break that easily. And as the night swallowed the house, I could feel the storm returning on the horizon, quiet but certain. The calm before the final reckoning. It had been 3 weeks since Nathan left the house that morning. The days that followed felt strangely quiet, not empty, but peaceful in a way I hadn't known for years. The air no longer carried tension. The house no longer trembled with whispered arguments or the heavy silence that comes after them. Grace spent her mornings walking with Lily through the garden, her laughter soft but returning. The house was healing just as she was. I watched from the porch one afternoon, rocking slowly, my tea cooling in my hand. The wind brushed against my face, carrying the scent of the lilacs my husband planted years ago. For the first time, I felt his presence not as grief, but as strength. I could almost hear him whisper, "You protected them, Eleanor. You did right." But peace doesn't come without facing the storm fully. Nathan hadn't spoken a word since leaving, not even to Lily. Yet something inside me knew he would return, not out of love, but pride. A man like him never leaves things undone. One morning, Grace received a letter. I saw her standing in the kitchen, the paper trembling in her hand. "It's from Nathan," she said quietly.
He wants to talk.
"Says he made a mistake." I studied her face, calm but uncertain. "Do you want to see him?"
I asked.
She sighed. "I don't know. A part of me still wants closure, but another part is afraid he'll twist things again." I placed my hand over hers. "Then go with truth in your heart, not fear. You can listen without surrendering." That afternoon, he came. His car pulled into the driveway as if nothing had happened. He looked thinner, eyes sunken, voice lower. "Grace," he said, trying to smile. "You look good." Grace didn't answer. She stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame, strong, composed. "What do you want, Nathan?" "I just want to talk," he said. "I've been thinking about everything. Maybe I overreacted. I shouldn't have thrown those albums away." I stepped forward, my presence silent but steady. "You didn't just throw away albums, Nathan. You threw away trust." He glanced at me, visibly uncomfortable. "I didn't come here to argue with you, Eleanor." "Good," I said softly, "because I'm done arguing. Grace deserves peace." He turned back to Grace, desperation creeping into his voice. "I can change. I'll fix things. For Lily." Grace shook her head.
No, Nathan.
"You don't fix people by breaking what they love."
You taught me that.
He took a step closer, eyes pleading. "You're my wife." "I was," she interrupted. "But I stopped being your partner the day you stopped seeing me as a person." For a moment, silence filled the air, heavy, final. Nathan's lips parted as if to respond, but nothing came. He lowered his gaze, nodded slightly, and walked back to his car without another word. The sound of the engine faded down the road until it disappeared completely. That was the last time we saw him. That night, after Lily was asleep, Grace sat beside me on the porch. The sky was clear, stars blinking softly above the trees. "I thought I'd feel broken," she said, "but instead I feel free." "Freedom often comes dressed as loss," I said gently. "But when you strip away everything false, what's left is truth, and that's what sets you free." She leaned her head on my shoulder, her breath calm, steady. "You always knew, didn't you, Mom?" "I've lived long enough to know the difference between a man who builds a home and a man who burns it down," I said with a quiet smile. Days turned into weeks, and the light in Grace's eyes returned. She started teaching again, painting on weekends, reading stories to Lily in the garden. Life began to bloom again, one small moment at a time. And as for me, I started restoring what Nathan tried to erase. Each evening, I'd take out one of the rescued photos, wipe the dust away, and place it in a new album, an album not of sorrow, but survival. One afternoon, Lily sat beside me as I arranged the photos. "Grandma," she asked, "why do you love pictures so much?" I smiled. "Because they hold time still, sweetheart. They remind us that even when people change or leave, the moments they gave us still belong to us." She nodded seriously, her little fingers tracing the edge of a picture. "Then I'll keep them safe, too." Her innocence made my eyes well up. "Promise me you will," I whispered. As the months passed, the house transformed, not with new furniture or paint, but with warmth. Grace and I started hosting small family dinners again. Laughter filled the kitchen. Lily's drawings covered the fridge. The home that once felt haunted was alive again. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky gold, Grace brought me a framed photograph. It was an old one, my husband holding baby Grace in his arms, both smiling like the world belonged to them. She said softly, I found this in one of the boxes you saved. I think it should stay right here. She placed it on the mantel beside a candle. I looked at it, my heart swelling with both ache and gratitude. Your father would be proud of you, I said. You faced what broke you and chose love anyway. Grace smiled through tears. You taught me that. I reached out, tucking a strand of her hair behind her ear. Then my life was worth every scar. That night, I sat alone in the garden, the crickets singing their quiet hymns. The stars looked close enough to touch. I thought about all the years that had passed, the love, the pain, the letting go. And I realized something. Healing isn't about forgetting what was lost. It's about remembering without bleeding. I whispered into the night, as if speaking to my late husband. You were right, darling. The past doesn't chain us. It roots us. Even when the branches break, the roots remember where they belong. In the end, Nathan's absence became our blessing. The house he tried to empty became full again, of laughter, memories, and peace. I often caught Lily playing near the photo wall, her tiny voice saying, "That's Mommy when she was little." And every time she said it, I felt the circle of life tighten, painful once, but now complete. Maybe that's what love really is, not the keeping, but the remembering, not the holding on, but the handing down. And as I closed the last new album that evening, I whispered the final truth life had taught me. You can throw away pictures, but you can't erase the stories they tell. Because love, real love, always finds a way to be remembered. He thought he destroyed my memories, but all he did was make them immortal.